Alright, so I got two of these plates, and it honestly looks like this is the better one. That one's pretty pitted. I'm going to sand this one a little bit more. Well, looks like it's going to be another day that I don't want to stay in the shop. So I do have a couple things here to paint. So I drilled the holes for the 3 tags that's going to go on there, and then I want to put another coat of paint on that, and then I found another little part that I need to paint up. Well, we're going to try this. I had a suggestion using a flat piece of wood. We'll dip it in the paint and then use it to come over these letters. Popsicle stick, I cut it, I sanded the end. So let's see how this works. Yeah, that didn't work. I'm either going to leave it the way it is or look for one of them paint pens. Yeah, I'm going to paint this one black again once that dries. All right, well, this is the safety switch setup. So I'm going to pull the old wires and connectors out of there because they're pretty grungy, and we're going to replace them. So if you've never dealt with these little connectors before, you see this little tab right here? Well, basically, if you look at the top of that slot right there, there's a little indentation. Now what you do is you stick you a very small screwdriver in there to push that tab down, and then the wire pulls right out. Now these wires are typically just crimped. I like to put a little solder on mine, but what I'm going to do is pull these out of the connectors, clean the connectors up, and then we're going to put new wires in them. Alright, so I thought I'd show you here. So there's a little indentation right there. You might push the wire in a little bit and then shove that screwdriver in, and then basically I got on the side of it. There it went. Ta-da! Comes right out. Okay, so more than likely I'm going to be using that engine. I know it's a runner, but it's a magneto engine. It doesn't use points. So we're going to have to deal with a little bit of different wiring. So for now, we're only going to be dealing from the ignition switch through the 2 safety switch to the solenoid. So that's all correct, but the key switch terminal is labeled differently than the new switch I have. So the new switch I have is this diagram here, and it gives me the functions, which so far the S terminal, which would be that terminal right there, or if you're looking at the plug, the top plug. So we got to get that terminal to go through the 2 safety switches, and then the other end will connect to the solenoid. So I got my 2 connectors here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder this up, because this wire here goes from this terminal to that terminal. Okay, so that's the correct length. So from this terminal, it's going to have to go up to the key switch on the S terminal, and this terminal here will go up to the solenoid, which will be somewhere in this area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install these and just leave the wires kind of long until we get the dash tower on. The more I was looking at this diagram and then comparing it to the key switch that I have, which is this diagram here, I noticed something was missing. The charging circuit. So I got the reading, and basically it says the 5-terminal Briggs & Stratton key switch, which is what these connectors go to, and I have a bunch of these, has been replaced by a 6-terminal key switch. The additional terminal provides a direct connection for the charging lead at the key switch. So basically, and I've checked it with the multimeter, and let me put you up on the tripod. So basically, this is the 6th terminal on this switch. So what I've got now is the yellow is going to what would connect to the battery, and then the black is going to the L or A terminal, which goes through the fuse and the amp meter and all that. So when I turn the switch to run, it closes that position there. But it also connects to that position there. So I've got 2 options with this switch. I can either double a red wire off of this terminal, but I believe to share the load and keep from melting things down, this terminal is going to be going through the fuse, the amp meter, headlight switch, the PTO switch, and then this other terminal will go directly to the rectifier, which will be on the Briggs engine. So yeah, I kind of wrapped my head around it, and I might go pull this other manual up and see if they show this switch. But I do not have a connector for this. I've got only the 5-pin connector. So what I'm going to have to do is wire a separate spade terminal to go to the charging circuit. All right, that should work. So I was actually looking for a single connector. This is going to go to the electric motor actuator, which I don't have, but I'm going to install it. And then I've got this oddball switch now, or connector. I have no idea what that came off of. And then as I was taking the wires out, why would they connect a red and a black wire to the same terminal? I think that one's the same way, a black and a red wire, and that would be going to the ground. That would be going to the ground terminal, which depicts right here, G for ground. So number 1, ground. Honestly, I was thinking that was a ground on that terminal, but it's not. It goes to the charging circuit. I can deal with that. I spent a lot of time researching, figuring out how we're going to wire this thing, how we're going to use a modern switch on it. We're going to go with that engine over there, finding connectors that'll work. So the big hold up with putting the dash tower in was getting this sorted out, which that's done now. And then I also went ahead, and I wasn't quite sure how long this connector was going to be, and that's for an electric lift. So what I'll probably do is I'm going to put me one of them cable wraps right here on this bolt, and then we're just going to twist this up and tuck it in there. The red and black is for the tail light, so that's already run, and all this comes out here. So yeah, I guess tomorrow I'm going to put the dash tower, or put the battery tray on, and then work on cleaning up the wires and getting them hooked up where they need to go on the key switch.